I got back from Peru about 3 days ago, and I think I'm still sort of in a daze. It's sort of like, I feel like I was there for 8 days, 4 ceremonies, ayahuasca, and I feel sort of like, you know, this tectonic plate shift beneath the surface of my core. It's sort of like I'm just in a daze. I'm sort of just like, I feel like almost like an empty desk drawer that was just emptied out of all this like clutter and all this junk. And I feel just so empty. It's like one day I'll feel super empty and super like blah and super like almost like homeless emotionally and spiritually. Because I feel like a lot of shit was like ripped out of me, like, and like some shit was like derooted out of me, like finally. I feel like almost like this wounded, misunderstood child of Peter, this attachment that I have to this kid who is sort of like misunderstood, the loner, the kind of wounded, angry child who never felt like he fit in and all that. It's like that was permanently ripped out of me. And it's almost weird letting it go, and it's weird finally saying goodbye to it. It's almost like I didn't want to let it go. It's like letting it go, but kicking and screaming. So it's like I sort of feel like this empty vessel now, and I just feel, I'll have a day where I'll feel super empty and blah, and I'm like, where do I go from here? I don't even know who I am anymore. And then the next day I'll feel super free and light and naked and new, like I'm constructing this new Peter from the ashes of what was destroyed or what was ripped out of me, or like what was dumped out of this empty desk drawer. So it feels a little bit like I'm just starting from the ground up. I'm just like, I have to put the first brick onto the building to sort of construct this new Peter because I've been so emptied out. And I'm like, who am I without this identity that I was so attached to of the wounded child, or like the kind of lonely person, or like, if that was ripped out of me, now it's like, you know, and it's weird because I feel like I didn't even shed a tear the whole 8 days in Peru. I was almost like empty and dazed, and I was like, it had been taken from me. My old identity of sadness. And I feel sort of like where do I go from here, sort of, and where do I, like, I'm like trying to find Peter, this reference point, but I don't quite know who he is anymore, and I have to like reformulate everything that I used to think about myself. Say you got a kidney removed, your body takes a long time to adjust to have to work with one kidney. And all the other systems have to adjust. All the other systems have to learn how to pick up the slack. And sort of like, it's new and daunting, and like, it's just this weird thing which I experienced last time with the ayahuasca integration, which was just like, in the first couple months, you're just in this daze of like, one day you feel super empty, and then the next day you feel like you can fly like a bird. But this feeling of like, I feel like I don't fit anymore. Like I don't fit as a puzzle piece here back in New York anymore. Like it just, nothing fits. And I feel homeless emotionally and spiritually, but also like I'm sort of just ready to move on, and I'm ready to just leave this old Peter behind, but also leave this old life behind. You know, it's almost like it's just imploded in a way, but in a good way. Like I'm ready to move on, and I'm ready for the next chapter of my life, and I'm ready to like, maybe that's this has been about. This like disillusionment that I've had of like, I didn't shed a tear the whole week of ayahuasca, which was weird because last time I was there, I was crying almost every day. But maybe it's because it's finally letting go of that sad little child inside. And it's a funny thing because I used to attach so much significance to like crying, and when I feel things and I feel like I can cry, I feel like I'm more in touch with life and my heart. And I think like tears are whenever I cry, like when tears are so magical to me and they help me tap into my heart space and like make me feel things and make me feel gratitude and make me feel grounded and make me feel just in touch with everything around me, sympathy, empathy, more connected and love for myself. But it's just a funny thing. It's like reorienting. It's like, oh, this is like Peter, who's meant to be like a man who's not so attached or so like crazily offended or like sad about everything I do and everything I say and obsessing over the significance of things and mourning things. The rug has been pulled out from under me in my reality, and everything I defined myself as and everything around me that I made to fit this puzzle or this whole landscape of who I thought Peter was, this identity, the shy guy, the loner guy, the intellectual guy, whatever, the misunderstood, the angry, the rebel, the kind of lashing out child. It's like, what if I'm not any of that? Well, what if none of that's me anymore? And what if it's a little sad letting that go, and now I have to like really be who I am and not cry about it and lash out about it and just sort of step into and embody who I truly am. That's the challenge, I guess. But it's just this feeling of like one day you're on top of the world, and then the next it's a little bit like you're empty and hopeless, and you're like, where do I go from here? So integrating the ayahuasca, and especially because it just gives you a complete overhaul of your gut chemistry, of your brain chemistry, everything. I mean, I only threw up one of the nights because I guess my stomach didn't need to clean that much crap out. But either way, it's just a complete overhaul of your chemistry and everything you thought about yourself and everything, releasing all of these things. But it's like I'm still kind of in a daze, but kind of in like I just need to get my feet back under me, and I need to get reoriented to like going back into this world of like, relating to all these people and work and just all these things that just seem just like a lot after this experience is so earth-shattering and so like perspective shifting. You almost travel to another place in space and time, and you leave this dimension and you just go to a place where time and space don't really exist. I mean, for 4 of the nights. And it's almost like your body has to digest it, and your mind and your body and your soul and your heart has to digest it and like almost like take in the insights and take in the things that you got in this alternate dimension or this alternate space-time. So it's almost like you could experience in one night the equivalent of like a year's worth of insights, say, or a year's worth of these new emotions or tapping into a future timeline or something like that. But to digest that and actually see it come to fruition could take 6 months to a year, where you even start to make sense of like, what was all these kaleidoscopic crazy visions? But not even the visions. The visions I don't think are as important anymore. More just like the feeling that you feel. Almost like I had some feelings in some of the ceremonies where I felt like I was legit tapping into some future timelines about what I'm going to be feeling when I actualize these things, or when I have this accomplishment, or when I step into the world more. Just being able to feel that. So like, and someone's used this reference before, but like, it's as if in the medicine and in the ceremony, you get to see the clouds part completely and the sky clears and you see the summit of Everest, but you're at the bottom. And then when you come back home, all the clouds go back to where they were, and you still have to climb up on this path in the fog and in the stuff, but you know that there is a clear view of the peak, and you know that the peak exists because sometimes you lose hope and you don't know that there's a peak, and you don't know that there's a truly actualized person in here that can achieve things and that can step into the world and that can find that light at the end of the tunnel, that hope, that happiness, that heart connectedness, that sharing my gifts with the world, that whatever it is. So it's like now I still have to navigate with all the fog there, but I can see that something exists up there, that like I can have the faith that it's there to keep trotting on and to keep going. Even if you get that peak experience in the 4 ceremonies, but then they sort of just are in your head, and you can reference back to them when things get hopeless, and when the fog comes back, and when those old patterns come back, and those old hopelessness comes back. So there's just so many things to digest, and I think it's too much to try and like summarize it all in once, because it's ever unfurling, like this ball of yarn that just continually unfurls, and it's almost like this red carpet or something that you're continually, or this path shower or way shower that you can continually reference back to this point in your head and in space and time, which you're like, you found this reference point in the ceremonies of like, oh, this is what complete union and complete tuning in with my heart and soul and this perfect shining, beaming, overflowing feeling of shining like a sun feels like. And you can continually reference back to that even when you can't feel it. But I think this time there was so much excavation that happened, and it was like very final, like it was closing out a lot of loops that I had from the first time I went in April 2017, a year and 10 months ago. Where now I feel like I'm good for like, I won't even think about going back to Peru for at least 5 years, if ever. Like I got enough for this lifetime, for the next 10 lifetimes, for the next 100 lifetimes. Like I feel, and that's the way it often feels when you come back, where you're just like, oh my God, I can't even like explain it at a conscious level, because it's not, you can't really, it's in this imaginal realm, and it's in this other dimension, and it's in this like, it's like soul talk. What you feel in the ceremonies is at the level of soul, and it's doing work on you that you can't even really comprehend. You just sit there and let it excavate your heart, let it rip out traumas, let it rip out these old parts of me. But honestly, I feel like it will be ever unfurling. Like a month from now, I could have a radically different conception about all of it. So I think I'm just like trying to ground, because you're just like, I feel like I'm back physically and mentally, but like in a way it's like I'm still there. Like I'm still trying to just bridge the gap between these two realities. Like you go somewhere that's not real, but it's like a different dimension, but it's like connection with your soul and God and whatever, and this peak state that you reach, seeing the summit and feeling the boundlessness of your heart and the boundlessness of the universe and the capacity of love that is in your heart, that is so, that can't be explained by words, the power and the magnificence and the beauty of it. So sort of like, I think basically it just will take time to chew on it and digest it and integrate it, and like I said, learn how all the systems of the mental, of the physical, of the spiritual, of the heart, of the mind, to like deconstruct it, but also like learn all the different systems and all the different functions of my body and mind to work together to learn how to function new, to function more naked, and to function more free, and to function more rid of all these things, and truly become who I am and embody it without the wounded child who I kind of miss sometimes, because that was my reference point for reality. That's how I relate. So how do I seek significance? How do I find my significance and find, oh, I'm really a person, and like I'm really Peter, without thinking that I need to be the loner or the misunderstood or whatever it is. So I know it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it, because some days I just feel really naked and light, almost like I'm going to like float away or something, and like I'm just happy, and like I have this smile that is just like the child is coming back, like the child is being not reborn, but just so many layers of skin have been shed, and all this work over all these years. And it's like to finally be able to see like, oh my God, this kid is here. This kid was always here. I just forgot, and I just piled on, and I tried to define what I was for so many years and keep myself in a box. But now it's just like, now the heart just wants to fly. The kid just wants to come out and sing and share himself with the world. You know, and like, why even wait on that for another second? You know what I mean? So I feel like the integration is happening faster this time, but it's almost like what happens is this withdrawal with the chemical and the physical and just everything is when those traumas are ripped out of you. And, you know, like from the first night was the most hellish, but then the rest of them were better. But basically, I think it just takes time because it's like there's chains or something in your brain or wherever, and you're used to these mind systems that are so oppressive and like chains and prison bars. And when they get snapped and broken open, they're like almost pillars or foundation of what those mind systems were or what those belief systems rested on. So now they have to they're just floating randomly in an ocean. It's like, where are they going to go? It's like, how do you find that steady foundation again? And I have to find it, or just get used to having a more free mind where those belief systems aren't like prison bars, where the belief systems don't feel like they're like these limiting, constricting prison chains or like handcuffs around my wrists. So it's a feeling of freedom, but also like, oh wow, like I'm allowed to roam out here. I'm allowed to roam out, I'm allowed to roam out in this area of the mind. I'm allowed to be out here. It's a little scary because I'm just free and there's nothing telling me what this part of the mind is called or what this part of the heart is called or what this part of my inner child wants to say, which has been a stranger to me for my whole life. And my inner child has been gone for so long that it's almost like this reunion. It's like I'm a long lost parent, or like I'm a parent that abandoned his child 20 years ago or got divorced or just got out of there when the kid was born, and now I'm coming back. I'm like, oh hey Pete, like let's get to know each other now. Like let's go play baseball, or like let's go have a baseball catch. And it's such a beautiful thing because I know that it's like, it's so new, and I just have this excitement that it's scary at one point because I don't know who that kid is, but on the other hand, it's also like, I'm excited to get to know this kid. And I'm excited that he's coming out of hiding, like I was keeping him at a prison or something, or I just abandoned him. And now he's back, and he's coming back into my heart. And sometimes I resist, and I don't know how to be with him in the world. But then sometimes I'm just like super excited because I feel the hope and I feel the blooming that's happening, like the springtime blooming of this inner child being shown again. It's just really exciting, just all the possibilities. And like, it's like, who do I want to be? The fact that the inner child has even been freed, and that I'm even saying all this, and like the fact that like just expression, there's so many mediums for expression, there's so many mediums for the child to express himself and like just sing and dance and do all of it, and there's time for all of it, and it's going to be so good, you know, it's going to be so good. And like, honestly, I think it's much less of an intense contrast as it was last time, where it's sort of like, last time it was just like it exploded my entire world when I came home last time. I was like, shit, I have to like redefine. It's going to take a long time to digest the fact that what I thought of reality wasn't really reality. So I don't have as much of that this time because like I've already was initiated into that whole world. But this time it was just all about like this freeing of this inner child and the gloriousness of it, and like just seeing, it's just like experiencing love in my heart again for the first time. And it's so beautiful. And there was one of the trips that was like, it was the funniest thing because what my mind came up with to like in the imaginal realm during the trip was like that I was at this like 70s party and everyone was dressed super flashy and flamboyant and like, you know, those big wide bottomed at the ankle jeans and like these flashy stripes and like afros and these huge shiny sunglasses in weird shapes, and like these people had these huge Polaroids, and everyone was just dancing and everyone was wearing these crazy like coats and just the flashiest outfit, like it was a disco or something in the 70s. And everyone was just dancing and happy and free, and we were just laying around, and people were just like feeling sensual and touching each other, and like everyone was just like feeling sexual and feeling free, and like, you know, and I just felt more of a connection. I felt like this opening of like, even in like my attraction or love for women that has almost been dormant this whole time. And I was like, am I hiding away a little bit with this whole like you know, super anti-dating and super all that. I'm working on myself all this time and I can't hang out with anyone. And I just felt like that was stoked again. Like that was stoked in me again. Like that desire for love, that desire to be in a relationship and to be loved and like share that real, like that desire for like real intimacy with myself and being able to share that with someone. So like, it's just like the whole world has opened up. The whole world has opened up, but it's also like, oh, well, there's a lot of work to do because I got to like reconstruct everything now from the ground up. And like my whole conception of like work and the way I spend my time and the way I allot my time is just different now. It's like a different canvas. It's like a completely different mode. You know, it's like the way I look at time and reality and eternity now is completely altered again. It's like I won't be able to operate the same way anymore. I won't be able to get off the hook that easily anymore. Now that like seeing what I've seen, you can't unsee it and you can't unknow it and you can't close that door that's been opened in your heart. Because it's like a massive portal to allow all that source love in. And once you felt it once in that one peak experience, it's like there's no going back. And I felt that after the first experience when I went 2 years ago, but this time it was like it was opened even more, where it's like, well, now it's like you're getting reacquainted with the inner child and all that, and just that's just the theme, that inner child reunion, like this grand, glorious reunion, this amazing like homecoming. Like the kid was gone and there was estranged for 20 years, or we had a falling out, or I thought he was dead or kidnapped or whatever. And it's like he's here and the kid just comes and you just welcome him and just like take him into your arms and just hug him and say, I'm never going to abandon you again, Pete, ever again. I'll never abandon you. I'll never abandon that creative, childlike, gentle, free spirit in myself again, ever. It's so amazing and hopeful. So there's just a lot to be excited about and there's a lot to be grateful for. Like I'm so grateful I went on this trip. I absolutely hate being in the ceremonies, and it's terrifying and brutal physically. And you know, when that shaman starts singing and you start just going into this hazy land of like, and all those difficult memories start coming up, and it's just like, oh my God, it's like a war zone. It can feel like you're going to war each time and each time I drank the medicine, it was like I literally had to take little sips because I was like about to throw it up. It was like my body 20 minutes before the ceremony would start convulsing of like just getting nauseous because it's so fucking nasty. But now it's like allowing the medicine to work even beneath the conscious level now, and seeing that it works. Like the guy that was there would say, he was like, yeah, literally 2% of the work is done while you're there, and then 98% of the work happens in the integration, where things are revealed to you and that ball of yarn is unfurled, and you know, things come to you experientially, or things pop up, or you feel things about your body, and you're meditating and you can feel that connection again. And it's like they say, the medicine never leaves your body. The medicine is literally always with you energetically, not just physically, but like you're allowing the spirit and the energy of the medicine into your body and to work with you and to have it as this channel and this connection. So I just have so much gratitude. And even for the people that were there and just like the shaman and everyone, it's just such a special, beautiful experience. It's an experience that can span years and years and years. You spend 8 days down there and it can literally, it's still working for you 4 years later. You're still coming to insights. You're still seeing and grasping things that your mind cannot wrap around and make sense of. It feels like the universe is kind of pushing me out of New York and like pushing me out of this life and like kind of ready to go. Like I just don't fit here anymore, and I'm ready to like let this new part of myself fully blossom, wherever that may be. But so much to be happy about, so much to be thankful for with this trip. I mean, it's beyond words, because when you go into that ceremony, it's a little bit like strapping yourself to the back of a rocket and you're kind of just like, God, please let me live through this. Like, I was away for a week, but it feels like being away for a month or two. And after, I was literally the happiest person in the world. I was like, I never taking ayahuasca again. because it's fucking terrifying and difficult, and like, but I was like, but I lived through it. Like, I lived through it, thank God, and I got through it, and I got what I got, and I got everything I possibly could have needed, and it closed out and gave me closure from the first experience, where it was like any knot that needed to be tied up, or T that needed to be crossed, or I that needed to be dotted was totally answered, and 1,000-fold. So it's not like I'm going to be going back there even remotely anytime soon. Looking forward to just feeling the insights that will continually unfold, and those little hidden pockets of the experience that maybe I didn't quite grasp then, but 5 months down the road, maybe something will pop up, or I'll feel something, or I'll say, oh, that's why that had to happen that way, or that's why this thing opened, or that's why, and I'm just getting to know all these new parts of me. So a lot to be hopeful about, even when I have hitches and I have days of hopelessness, or days of kind of the blahs, or like I feel like it's the mountain is too hard to climb, or like, shit, I don't want to rebuild myself, it's hard, like I'd rather just go back to being the old me. But it's just like easing into it and allowing it to happen. Just take one brick at a time, and just being this new person, or just being this more naked and free person. So